Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 50 female, have 3 children, 30 female, 17 male and 16 female. My oldest has a different father from the other 2 and was obviously fairly grown once the siblings were born. I will admit that during her teen years, my oldest took a lot of babysitting duties in the house. I worked during the afternoons and evenings, so she would pick the babies up from daycare and watch them until I got home at night. This unfortunately led to my daughter and I having somewhat of a strained relationship as she's become an adult. She has told me that I used her as a second parent and that it caused her a lot of stress and stunted her social life during adolescence. I know that I made mistakes as a mother during that time. We were struggling financially and she always seemed eager to help with the babies, but I shouldn't have taken advantage of her like that. We've discussed it a lot in the years since, and though we still have problems between us, I like to think our relationship has made progress. Since graduating college, my daughter has become a financial consultant with an excellent salary. I'm incredibly proud of her and everything she's achieved. As someone who myself never attended college, who has lived near the poverty line my entire life, it's so rewarding to see my daughter move up in the world. As my younger 2 children have been approaching college, however, I've been beginning to question how I'm possibly going to pay to put them through school. In all likelihood, they'll have to take out heavy student loans. I would like to avoid this if at all possible. We all know how damaging student debt can be to young people. I approached my oldest and asked her whether she might be willing to contribute somewhat to her siblings' tuition. I emphasized that she could absolutely say no, or we could discuss the possibility of us paying her back over a period of years. I've said multiple times that I was only asking because I wanted to consider all options. But if she wasn't comfortable with it, I would drop it and look for alternatives. My daughter became very upset with me. She said that it was entirely inappropriate for me to ask, and that the only reason I would ever consider asking is because I've always considered her a second parent rather than a child. She said that my asking her for this has shown her that I've never really learned from my parenting mistakes when she was a teenager. But I really don't think it's the same thing. Like, honestly, she's rich. She has the money. I don't think it's absurd that I might ask her if she's willing to do me a favor for the sake of her siblings, especially since I made it very clear I wouldn't be angry or upset if she said no. Thoughts? Edit. My oldest was put through school by her father. He lives across the country and would visit occasionally when she was growing up, though he never had custody. He offered to pay for her schooling as a sort of apology for not being more present when she was young. I don't see him, but they have some amount of contact nowadays. The younger 2 have the same father. He ran off just after my youngest was born. Haven't heard anything from him since. I couldn't tell you where he might be right now. OP, you're the a-hole. I know you said you wanted to consider all options, but this shouldn't have been an option. Your daughter is a sibling, not a mom, and a half-sibling at that. It was incredibly inappropriate for you to ask. She didn't have 2 kids, you did. You're lucky she helped you out when she was younger, and it would have been a different situation had she offered help herself. They're not her kids, and she has no real reason she should pay for their education. Now for some comments. OP is really an unrepentant, unlearning a-hole. It's very evident from the start of her post that she's entirely aware of how damaging her outsourcing of parental responsibilities was and is to her firstborn child. But she waltzes directly into the same situation. Geez, I feel so profoundly sorry for OP's daughter and other kids too. Be an independent parent. Help source financial aid for your 2 younger kids now. And if you can't entirely stop abusing your daughter emotionally, stay out of her life for her well-being. Goddamn, you're the a-hole. OP, the whole "I have considered all options" really rubs me the wrong way. I genuinely doubt you have actually considered all available options, especially when it comes to financial aid from scholarships, schools, and the state. If she's not well off, shouldn't her kids have a better chance at applying for financial aid? Also, even if the younger kid's father vanished, you should still know his name and his last address, and you could go from there to track him down and sue him for child support, to be honest. You're the a-hole. You knew she was sensitive about being used. and you asked for money anyways. Your younger kids can get through the same way she did. She owes you nothing. And I wouldn't be surprised if she decided it was better to just cut you out of her life. I say this as a much older sister who came from a low-income family to do well and offered to cover my baby sister's college. But I can tell you, if I get a whiff of entitlement or expectations from my parents, they would be on their own. If you hadn't asked, she may have offered something, but for you to ask knowing your history makes you the a-hole. Story 2. My mom passed away some years ago. She was by no means a rich lady, but she held on to treasures in the way people from the old days did. She had a beautiful set of antique silverware that I admired as a little girl, and that my own daughter loved to look at when we went to visit my mom. My mom promised her she would have it one day. Before my mom passed, she gifted the silverware to me on the provision that it went to my daughter when she is old enough. Of course, I agreed, and it stayed in my home since my daughter wants me to give them to her when she first buys her own home. So obviously a few years away still. Since my mom's death, life has changed for me. I remarried in 2018, my daughter is all grown up at 19, and I have inherited a lovely stepdaughter who is in her 30s. She asked me if she could use the silverware for her wedding this past July. It was uneasy only because the thought of it being stolen etc. was on my mind. However, her ceremony was very small and intimate, so ultimately, I changed my mind after asking my daughter her thoughts, since ultimately it's her silverware. After her wedding, she was asked repeatedly if she could share the set of silverware with my daughter. She fell in love with it and now has sentimental value to her. I do like my stepdaughter, but it's not my gift to give away. I'm simply holding on to it for my daughter. I told her to ask my daughter, but my daughter said no. She said it politely. My stepdaughter thinks I'm excluding her because she should enjoy this also. I said it's not my place or my gift to split. She thinks that I should override my daughter's opinion, but I don't think that's fair either. Not the a-hole. Your mother wanted it to go to your daughter. End of story. Did your stepdaughter even know your mother? Were they close? The only sentimental value I can see is that it's attached to her wedding. But it was nice enough of your daughter to lend it to her for the occasion. She can't expect now to have a claim to it, and she definitely shouldn't have told you to give her anyways. Despite your daughter saying no, it's hers, not yours to give. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. I don't think she understands that your dead mother is the one that decided who got the gift, which carries a lot of weight. The gift isn't from mom, it's from dead grandma. It means a lot more that way, and your stepdaughter needs to accept that. The amount of entitlement from stepdaughter is crazy. I often wonder if these people ask themselves the same exact question and think to themselves, well, that seems reasonable. Hey, can I have the antique silverware that your late grandmother, whom I've never met before, left for you? No? Well, they mean more to me because you allowed me to use them for my wedding. How about we split them up so neither of us have a full set? No? I think you're the one who is being unreasonable here. Not the a-hole at all. I think it was very lovely of you and your daughter to loan her the silverware for her wedding, and I'm astounded at the cheek of her asking if she can have it. If your stepdaughter had a relationship with your mother, I could understand her feeling some attachment to the silverware. Or if she considered you her mother, then I could understand that too. But at the end of the day, she has seen something shiny she likes, and thinks she has some right to own it. This is not true. She has no right to that silverware that your mother specifically left to your daughter. Your daughter said no, and you are right to say that it is not your decision to make. Story 3. This happened 3 weeks ago now, but things are still rocky, so I wanna evaluate my part in this. Mom and I are not super close. She has me 18 female and my sister 21 female. Our dad died when I was 7 and my sister was 10. She married Hank when I was 9 and my sister was 12. I was genuinely happy for my mom because she has been really sad without dad, and Hank treated her amazingly. You could see they were in love, but Hank wanted more than just a wife. He wanted to be a father too, but was infertile. And he wanted me and my sister to accept him as a new dad. Neither of us wanted to have a new dad. We both said we were glad mom had him and we liked him, but he would never be dad for us. He didn't want to leave it there, and he always tried to win us over. Mom would cry about how unfair it was that she couldn't give him kids, and she tried talking to us several times, saying how Dad wouldn't have minded us calling someone else Dad, saying how much it would mean to her, how she would be so happy if we could make her husband's dream come true. We told her we simply didn't want to have another dad, that we loved our dad too much and nobody could be as special to us like he was. It didn't end there, but it wasn't until recently where I reached a breaking point. Just before I turned 18, Mom came up with the idea that my turning 18 coincided with Hank's 50th birthday, and how awesome it would be to surprise him by asking him to adopt me as a double celebration and birthday gift. I told her no way was it happening. She started crying and saying how much it hurt for her great idea to be shut down and her chance to make her husband a dad. Then at my 18th birthday party, she was crying to family members about how she couldn't make him a dad, how she failed as a wife to him, how she must seem like the worst mother in the world for us, not to trust her enough to give us another dad, just as good as our original one. Every time I went to speak to someone or went somewhere, I would hear her. Then I was dragged into a conversation where they were trying to talk about how proud she must be, and she started weeping about her failures and the fact we didn't do what she wanted. I snapped. I asked her to think about someone other than Hank and herself for my birthday and try not to lay the guilt trip on me. She told me it wasn't what she was doing, so I told her she must be very self-absorbed, then to talk about nothing but herself throughout my whole party, because that is all I heard her talking about. She told me to stop being mean and to understand how hard the last few years have been for her as she fails. I ended up leaving. She was really upset. I felt and still feel bad, but frustrated too. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Wow, not the a-hole. It really sucks that he's infertile, but that's the way life goes, unfortunately. I can't believe your mom weaponized that against you and made it your problem. I highly doubt your dad's dream was to die and have you calling someone else dad. She should be grateful to you even so much as like and accept a new husband. Not the a-hole. She's pushing your boundaries and disrespecting your feelings. I would say the same with Hank. It's inappropriate for him to be dead set on you accepting him as a father when you already had one and are not comfortable with it. She's prioritizing her husband's feelings over her kids, which is not acceptable. She needed that reality check, and you are not wrong for giving it to her. Not the a-hole. She is self-absorbed. Her whole world is her and stepdad. Stepdad may truly love her, but he's not so great a dad. A great dad would have realized that you didn't need or want someone to replace your dad, and that if you didn't focus on the labels so much, his relationship with you and your sister could have been so much better. A great dad would have told your mom to leave you and your sister alone, that his relationship with you two would develop at whatever pace and in whatever manner was comfortable for you over time.